I hated swimming so much when I was young. The water was cold, it was green. I hated everything about it, to be honest.
Was there any point during those 2 years where you were like, I'm done, or that wasn't the case at all?
Well, when I was very close to that moment, my green card got approved. So I was like, okay, I'll go back to the US again and give it one more shot. I've literally invested my whole life in swimming. I know I'm there, and I know I'm good enough to be in that final. Like, how you get treated by your coach completely changes after you go pro, especially if you're not American. I was young, I was just, I'd say achieving my long-time dream, going to the Olympics. The crowd was insane. I love learning from the best, and I try to put myself in a position to be surrounded by those kind of people.
Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Abtal, a podcast series from the national news dedicated to Arab athletes and their respective journeys towards the Paris 2024 Olympics. I'm your host, Reem Abulleil, and today I'm joined by Egyptian distance swimmer Marwan El Kamash, who is getting ready to compete in his third Olympic Games this summer. Since he first moved to the United States over 12 years ago to study and swim at the University of South Carolina, Marwan has gone to extreme lengths to not only sustain but consistently develop his career as a swimmer. He has scoured all corners of the earth in search of the best training conditions, all with the firm belief in the idea that surrounding oneself by greatness provides the ultimate learning environment he needs to achieve greatness himself. From South Carolina to Indiana, South Africa to Turkey, Italy to California, Marwan has relocated multiple times in search of elite coaching and world-class company in the pool. Now, at 30 years of age, he is in the form of his life, clocking career best times and hoping to make history for his country by becoming the first Egyptian to secure a place in a swimming final at the Olympics. Marwan talks about how he went from being a young teen in Alexandria who hated swimming to becoming one of the best distance swimmers in the world with an immense passion for his sport that has taken him all across the globe. Please join us for this insightful conversation about doing whatever it takes to keep one's sporting dream alive. Marwan, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
We're actually 12 time zones apart. It's like 11 in the morning for you, 11 p.m. for me. So I'm very happy that we managed to coordinate and make this happen. Thanks so much. And tell me, what are you doing in California? Like, I know that you were in Indiana for a long time. So what took you to California?
Well, it started actually last year in the summer. I had the TU Pro Series. I'm sure you know what those meets are.
So it's a professional series of swim meets.
So yeah, they usually have like 6 or 7 per year. It's through USA Swimming, and I wouldn't say it's like, I mean, it's international since a lot of international swimmers swim there, but mostly Europeans are not able to compete because it's a bit too far. But anyways, so yeah, I was swimming my usual 200, 400, 800, 1500 events. And then after I think it was the 800, I won. I had my in-season best. And then the first guy I saw after my race was Mark Schubert, who is the best. I can confidently say like he's the best distance coach on this planet. And for him to come to me and then to like analyze my race and tell me how like impressed he was and everything, that really gave me a lot of confidence. And I don't know what is it. I felt very connected with him as a coach, and it's something, maybe it's a bit different topic, but like when you go a pro here in the US, it's really, really hard to find a coach that really cares about you, because after you're done with like your collegiate career, you're on your own. Like the how you get treated, like how you get treated by your coach completely changes after you go pro, especially if you're not American, because you don't really add much as a benefit to them anymore, because they basically see you as points. I know it's rough, like harsh to say, but it's the that's the truth. So yeah,
So you're
like
saying,
they
just to
just
explain to people, so when you're swimming for university, like you did for South Carolina and Indiana, when you have a certain number of years of eligibility, right? And then when you're done with that,
exactly,
you can
yeah.
still train with the team, but kind of nothing is in it for them. Is that what you're saying?
Also, not anyone can train with the team. If you have like good connection or like good relationship with the coach, he'll let you train with them. But obviously, in return, you have to like help his team to get better. You know, he's not just gonna let you train there just because. So yeah, I mean, which is something I struggled with after 2017. But like, I don't want to change topics too much. So yeah, after that race, he came to me. He's like, "Hey, you did this, you did that. You need to do this to get better." And obviously, with someone like him who coached literally the best distance athletes on this planet, like Usain Luli, or there's so many names. I don't want to like forget anyone, but yeah, I just I felt special for the first time in a while after like competing in college and all that, and then yeah, and then like it was him, like mainly him. He's just like texting me every day after that. He's like, "Hey, how's training been? How you doing?" All that, and then um, I knew I was gonna train like swim for him at some point. I just knew it. I didn't know when it was gonna happen or and all that, but then yeah, eventually he's like, "Hey, I want to. I'm making like or yeah, I'm making a distance group, and I'm recruiting some of the best distance swimmers, and I would love to have you on the team." And yeah, it was a no-brainer. I had to take the chance. You know, if someone who's been following my career, I always try to surround myself with the best in my like in the swimming. You know, so like I swam in South Carolina. I'm done with South Carolina. I lived in South Africa for 2 years. I went to Turkey with Energy Standards. If anyone has been following them, they at the time they were the best swim team in the world as well. And then from Turkey, I went to Indiana, California, and then I've been to Italy and some other places as well. So I love learning from the best, and I try to put in myself in a position to be surrounded by those kind of people.
Exactly. I feel that if I needed to tell someone your story in a sentence, I would say that you do whatever it takes to get the best possible training and be around the best possible people, which is not an easy thing to do because it requires a lot of sacrifice and traveling, and which I'm gonna get to because I this is what you took me. You summarized what we're gonna talk about in detail coming up.
I mean, exactly. Like I've been living in my suitcase since I was 18, and I just turned 30 today, so, or like not today, but like
Yeah,
I just turned 30. So
but like,
yeah.
does it? When you made this last move, we're gonna go back to all the moves you've made. But when you made this last move, obviously the motivation is there, like you said, because he's a legendary coach. So it was kind of a no-brainer, like you said. But does it take its toll from a different side in terms of just the moving, all of that, or does it actually energize you?
When I was younger, it did, but as you get older, it's like, like the decision gets harder and harder. Especially now, I have like two huge dogs that I had to travel with for like 36 hours in my car. Um, but no, I mean, once you settle in, it's good to be somewhere new because also like if anyone know anything about Indiana, it's like always cloudy. The weather is not the best, and from someone who's from Egypt, I'm used to like good weather and
You're from
seeing the
Alexandria,
sun.
right?
Exactly, yeah.
So you live by the beach.
Yeah. Well, yeah, close. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that, I mean, Indiana did a lot for me, and I'm really thankful for that. Not taking anything away from that, but, it was time for a change. After 6, 7 years not seeing the sun, I'm happy to be here and training with some people that I really enjoy learning from.
Who are some of the people you're with?
So there's 3 U.S. national teamers, like I think Michael Brinegar, David Johnson, Will, and then you have Ahmad Afnawi. It's not like huge. Like I mean, there's obviously more people swimming with us, but it's not like a big team. But it's like it's enough for some like for someone like me. I don't like swimming with like 7 people in the lane. I mean, I did my time. I swam with 15, 16. I did my time, but now it's time to like focus on quality and like not have so many people in my way to swim my practice the way I want to swim it.
So, for a lot of people, they would think that because swimming is so individual, it's you, the pool, and your time, right? I'm wondering if you can explain why is it beneficial for you to be with a strong group of swimmers? Like, what are the kind of stuff that you can pick up from them, or what do they do for your own training?
See, that's something I've learned that not everyone likes to do it that way, but some of the best, like if you look at the finalists at the Olympics or the World Champs, all of them for some reason like to train alone, which is something I find it very interesting because I really like to be surrounded by a team. I really like to someone to push me every day because let's say I have a I don't have like my best day tomorrow, but David will have his best day tomorrow, so he's gonna push me to have my best day tomorrow. And it's just the cycle goes around, like everyone's not gonna have his best day and then someone's pushing him. So we're just consistently getting better every day. Which for me is like very, very important. Just like having a team that most importantly like I like and that just like is fun to train with. For example, like Chad Leclos, when I was in South Carolina, this guy is the most fun person to like train with. Like I don't care if the practice 10K, 11K, 12K, he'll somehow make it fun. I mean, he's not the best trainer, like he's not like super fast in practice, but he makes it fun for sure. So yeah, for me
Yeah.
this is very important, and like having obviously having like some of the best athletes to train with is a motivation every day for sure.
I'll take you back and let's go actually to the beginning. You grew up in Alexandria. You and your brothers all swim. I'm curious, did your parents swim as well, or does it run in the family? How did you get into it?
No, really. I hated swimming so much when I was young. The water was cold. It was green. I hated everything about it, to be honest. But they just made me go to practice every day. And then even like at the very beginning, it wasn't very easy because like, let's say age 10 to 15, I was not getting any better. I wasn't even swimming my events now. I was doing like backstroke and fly. And I think at age 15, it's when I started improving, and I just started taking swimming more seriously. And most important for me, it was fun. It was fun for me to go to practice every day.
And distance swimming is, I mean, I think all swimming is tough, but like the choice of distance, how did you end up finding your lane in that?
See, this is something I take pride in. That throughout my career, I I'm the one who like try to learn from everyone, and then I guide myself. I've never had a coach since I was, let's say, 16 who has with me like the whole time through. I don't think I've had a coach more than 2 years, and it's something was out of my control because like when I started in Alexandria, like you said, our club was very famous with getting American coaches, um, and for us at the time, we there was no like we knew nothing about swimming, literally zero. So just because he was American, in our head he was better than an Egyptian coach. Even though if nowadays, like if you go through his resume or something, he was just a normal coach, and some of them are not even allowed to train or coach in the US. You know, so yeah, I mean, we had like because usually foreign coaches don't. survive longer than a year in Egypt. So I've had like two American coaches in Egypt, and then I traveled to South Carolina, swam there for like 3 years, and then after I qualified for the Olympics in my junior year, I think I was 20 at the time. I I decided to take a year off and fly to SA, lived there for 2 years. And then after that, I came back to Indiana. So, it's just the whole thing. Like, I've always been going somewhere, training with someone, or not someone, but like someone that I trust and I know he's good for me. So, yeah.
So let's start with South Carolina. When you were in Egypt, were you the one? Were you getting recruited, or were you the one just looking for scholarships? And how
So
did
at the
that come
time,
about?
yeah, it wasn't really common like nowadays where you just go to the US and swim and study, and it wasn't as easy because there was very very few people that made it. I think I can only name someone or two people that actually went there and they succeeded in doing both at the same time. So it was just like it was a gamble. Like we were just like I don't know how to describe it, because I would just send emails to a bunch of schools. I have no idea like where those schools are. I had no idea where South Carolina was on the map. Just even some schools I would send them and they were like, "Oh, we don't have a men's team," because I just wanted to go there and swim and study. I didn't like we had no background about college swimming or nothing, zero. So um, yeah, South Carolina, they emailed me back. They're like, "Hey, we can offer you this much. Are you interested?" And then that's where it started. And even South Carolina, when I went there, it wasn't like it was a D1 school, obviously, but it wasn't like something. It wasn't like top five or top 10. Even until now, like they weren't. But when I went there, I actually helped them to like recruit some swimmers, and that way we had a really really good distance team at the time. And obviously we had a very good coach too, but he wasn't there like my first year. He came in my junior year. That's when his name is Mark Bernardino. He's the guy who helped me to qualify to the Olympics in 2016. So yeah, after that like I said, I took a gap year to focus on swimming, just swimming. And yeah, I lived
But
in
when you went to South Carolina, was it? I would assume in a completely different environment to anything you'd ever seen. I'm just wondering, what was the transition like for you? Was it difficult? First of all, swimming and studying. What degree were you pursuing, and just like how did you transition into that? How did you acclimate?
so at the time, I don't know, I can't remember much, but at the time I was so ready to just try something new and get out of the environment I was in, because I was mostly training by myself, and it's not something I enjoy. But yeah, I was just ready to leave. I was ready to try something new. And like I said, I had no idea where South Carolina was. Like, because I remember the very first day in the US was in New York. I went there for like 5 days. It was nice and everything. And then I flew to South Carolina, and then I was like, where am I? Like, I'm just out of nowhere, trying something new by myself. I was 18 at the time. But I was very excited. Like, it wasn't, obviously I was shocked a bit, but it wasn't something that's was gonna like be in my way of doing what I wanted. So yeah, at first I tried civil engineering, but then after the first semester, I was like, I told my mom, I was like, hey, I'm either gonna focus on swimming or just study engineering, but I'll just do enough to maintain my scholarship, and that's it. I'll just swim for 4 years, and that's it. But I really, really enjoyed swimming, and I really love the sport. And which I still studied, or I finished my degree in political science. But I wasn't going to be able to do both engineering and swimming.
So you you go to South Carolina and then you qualify for your first Olympics. Was that something that you expected, that you were working really hard for? Was that came out? How did that come about?
Well, obviously, like the goal of this like sport is the Olympics. Um, like I mean, it's an Olympic sport, so what's the number one goal is the Olympics. Whether to qualify or make finals or obviously win. Um, so yeah, it was something in my mind the whole time, and it's something I really wanted to achieve. Um, Also, I wanted to achieve it um, the way where you qualify for the A cut, if you know the difference. Because if you go back to our in history, like in Egyptian swimming, like in '08 or 2012, it was more of I wouldn't say qualifying because they would just like pick a male and a female to just represent the country in the 50 freestyle.
Yeah.
But qualifying with the A cut, you have to be now in this Olympics. This is the hardest one to qualify ever in the history of the Olympics. You have to be top 12 from the Olympics before, but usually it's like top 12, 14. But yeah. So obviously, my goal was to get the A cut at some
So
point.
so for people who don't know, there's an A Olympic standard and a B Olympic standard, and A is
Yeah,
the one you should get to
you
guarantee
have
a
to.
spot. And
Yeah, the
then
B
when they
is
used to they kind of fill up the field first, and then if there are any empty spots, they would give them to the B. That's how it works, or how does it
yeah,
work?
yeah. You that was the perfect explanation. The only thing I would add is there's no chance for you to qualify if you get the B cut
At the
because
moment,
there,
especially,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
it's not going to happen because the sport has been so much faster and it's not slowing down. It's just getting faster and faster each year, and that's why they make it top 12 this year for this Olympics. And it's extremely hard to. I'm not like it's just. I would say it's challenging to qualify for this one. And but anyways, going back to South Carolina, yeah. So yeah, that was my goal. And then, but I remember it was like a tier pro series, um, and back then I think they used to call it Grand Prix.
Mm.
If someone has been following those, but anyways, my goal then was to qualify for the 2015 World Champs. And then I remember the first day I swim prelims, I go best time by like 2 seconds. And then at night, I just qualified for the Olympics. I didn't even know what the time was because I was someone who went from like 151 to 147 in like one season, which is at the time like 147 in 2013. That was top 8 at the time. Um, so yeah, I mean, after doing that, I was like, hey, maybe I should take swimming more seriously, and then I just decided to move to South Africa. I mean, I was talking to a few people. Like I was talking to the head coach in Spain at the time. I was talking to Greg Jackson, who was the head coach of Australian swimming at the time, and then obviously Graham Hill at South Africa. But it was so much easier for me to travel to South Africa since it was, I wouldn't say it's close to Egypt, but like, it's still in Africa, closer. And then the visa stuff was so much easier, obviously, for me too.
Yeah, and then so you were training. So that was before Rio 2016, which was your first Olympics. You're actually going to your third, inshallah, in
Inshallah.
Paris. This will be your third Olympics. So before Rio, you go to South Africa. What was it like? Because I think I saw. I'm not sure. I was doing a lot of research, so everything's a bit muddled up right now. But I think I saw the pool that you were swimming in. What was your? Can you talk to me about that? Because I know you had a good time there and it was really good for you. But like the
You know,
initial reaction, you were in Durban, right?
Durban, South Africa, yeah. That was my base
Yes.
because we actually traveled so much during that year, which made it even more fun. But yeah, I was based in Durban. It kind of reminded me of when I first moved to the US. because at first I went to New York, like I said, and then I go to South Carolina, and I'm like, what am I doing here? And it was the exact same thing. But the difference is I was there. I had Chadlock Lowe in the lane next to me. I had Miles Brown, Calvin Justice, so many more names. I don't want to miss anyone. But like, yeah, it was the group made it fun. And that pool, if someone ever seen it, it produced a lot of Olympic champions. So it's not really about the pools. It's really about, I would say, the team, the coach, obviously. Also, something I've learned a lot from, or like something I noticed is when you train in like not the best pool, and then you get to race in some of the best pools in the world. Um, it's a good feeling. You feel so much faster too.
That's interesting.
Um, yeah,
So, tell me, what are some of your standout memories from Rio? Like,
it
how
was
did
the
it go
best
for you?
Olympics ever. It was like the best ever.
How come?
I was 20 at the time, I think, 2021. I was young. I was just, I'd say achieving my long time dream, going to the Olympics. The crowd was insane. I like when you said that question, I went back and with my memory to that moment. It's awesome. You go in there, even through like the calling room, you can like it was like a soccer game. You can hear the people like yelling and cheering, and people usually ask us like if you hear someone cheering on you. Usually I say no, but that one moment I were like during the Olympics, you can just hear it the whole time. And I was only talking about Olympics. I'm not talking. Sorry, I'm talking about like the prelims, not even finals. So it was really loud. It was exciting. Obviously, I was a bit nervous, but it was just I don't know. For me, it was like the best, one of the best experiences ever been to.
And did it go the way you thought it would go in terms of swimming results?
Um, I don't know if someone watched the 400 freestyle from the Olympics in prelims. I was under the world record up until like the 250 mark. And if you ask me how this happened or what was going on, I have no clue. I was just excited. I went for it. Um, Obviously, I wanted to make the finals. I was like maybe I think a second short. Um, but again, I went best times. I was what I think top 13. Um, that leaves you. Sorry. Yeah, I was top 13 or top 15 at the Olympics. Um, went best times. I don't know. Everything went my way. Um, like everything went the way I wanted to. Um, Maybe the only thing that I wanted to achieve that I didn't was making semis in the 50 in the 200 because at the time I was more of a middle distance swimmer. I was not a distance swimmer, and I think I barely missed that one too. But overall, it was a great experience. And like I said, I think it was my favorite Olympics so far.
So you finished that and you decide to go to Indiana after, right? Am I right with the timeline? It's kind of
Correct. No, that's
so.
perfect.
So why
Yeah,
did
I
you
mean,
decide to go to Indiana, and what was that like there?
well, to be 100% transparent, the coach at South Carolina did not really like my move to South Africa. So he was like, "Yeah, if you want to come back, you have to pay full tuition." So I was like, "Okay, that's fine." So I started talking to schools that are top five, top 10 in the US, and Indiana was top five at the time, and they offered me even more money than I had in South Carolina. So I was like, that's a win-win for me. I mean, the only downside is I have to live in Indiana, but uh, but it was fun. It was actually good for my swimming, and it was a no-brainer as well for me to like take that offer.
2017. at World Champs. I think you were a whisker away from the final
I'm
in
always
the
there.
four.
I'm always ninth, 17. I'm
Yeah.
always
So what's
yeah.
that about? Do you like so for people to know like top 8 you go to a final, top 16 you go to a semi, but obviously in the distance the
It
longer the
depends on
race
the
they
distance.
don't
Yeah,
even do semis, you have to be top 8 straight away. So in the 400 free at Worlds in 2017, you're ninth and you're
ninth.
really
Yeah,
close. I have it written
yeah,
down somewhere how far you were. I think it was really nothing,
yeah. And the
0.22
funny
or
thing
something.
is, the guy who was eighth was my training partner as well at Indiana. Zane Gorthy. He swims for the US. So yeah, I'm always there. But it
So
motivates me. It motivates me to go back to training and be in that final. I mean, I've been there before, but the goal is to make finals, and then once you go to finals, everything is possible. And I'm sure everyone knows that.
yeah. So when you, I think we touched on that earlier, but I want you to talk a little bit more about that. Is when you graduate, when you go to the States on a scholarship and everything, and then you graduate, you kind of you need to figure out a plan, right? And you said that you're not sure. So was that a tricky period for you? I know you also had some issues waiting for a green card, or I don't know. There was a lot of different things. So if you would just want to try and explain how tricky it is that if you want to choose to become a professional swimmer and stay doing that, what do you need for that to happen?
That's the thing. You're literally on your own. You just, like I mentioned at the very beginning of the in the podcast, like after you're done your 4 or 5 years of eligibility, you're on your own. Luckily for me, my coach offered me a fifth year, just to like cover my expenses for another year, which kind of gave me another year to think what I really wanted to do, whether stay in the US or go somewhere else. Um, so yeah, you need to figure out things your own if you want to stay in the sport, because no one's gonna help you unless you're an Olympic champion or a world champion. You're literally on your own. So yeah, at the time we just I was like, okay, I've done my time in the US. My visa's about to be done, so I go back again where I just reach out to um, like world class coaches that know how to coach my events. So at the time there was Energy Standard in Turkey. The head coach
Which
at the
was a
time
swim
was
team?
yes,
Yeah.
um, it was the best swim club at the time.
Mhm.
The head coach was James Gibson. I'm sure a lot of people know him too. I just reached out for him. I was like, hey, my name is Marwan. I swim those events. Those are my times. What can I do to swim for you? And then he's like, hey, we would love to have you. And then he just offered me to do like a trial for 2 weeks, and it would be up to him to like decide if they would like want to keep me or not. And then actually after my third day, he's like, hey, I think you'd be a good fit for us. We'd love to have you, all that. And then my trial was actually it was not a trial anymore. I just ended up staying there for 2 years almost. So yeah,
Was that
that actually helped me a lot because
2018? Sorry, just for the time that was 2018, 2019, kind of? That's kind of the
yeah,
range?
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
um,
And
and
you
yeah,
had
I mean
Chad with
obviously
you at Energy Standard as well? Chad Leclos?
yeah, I mean literally any big name you can think of
Mm,
was swimming there at the time.
okay.
Um, yeah,
So I
but I was
remember, sorry, go ahead.
no, God.
I remember you told me that those 2 years in a previous interview we did, that those 2 years you were around amazing people and learning so much, but you said that they were the worst years for you swimming wise.
Oh, swimming wise, they were horrible.
But why? Can you try and explain why?
I I think the main thing is they had a concept where you can't stay there for more than 3 weeks because they don't like they just try to break the routine. They don't want you to see the same people every day. So the way they did it, you stay in Turkey for 3 weeks, and then a week they send you somewhere to train. I think that was not very beneficial for me because I like to stay somewhere, and because I'm already living in my suitcase, and that made it even worse. I'm just like, going everywhere. Like even for that week, I'm trying to find someone to train, whether I go to Italy, France, just keep looking in, somewhere in Europe to stay at. So, like again, I learned so much. Like I was literally surrounded by the best athletes and coaches, and not just distance, like sprint, mid distance, all other strokes. That I learned so much from that. But for my own swimming, it wasn't there.
So how do you, like, you're traveling, you're putting in so much effort. How do you stay motivated? Was there any point during those 2 years where you were like, I'm done, or that wasn't the case at all?
Well, when I was very close to that moment, my green card got approved. So I was like, okay, I'll go back to the US again and give it one more shot. Try to qualify for 2021 or 2020 at the time because there was no COVID at the time. So I go back, I try to qualify. I remember it was like, I only had like 3 more months to qualify. And on my third month, I go to that meet. I do not get the time. And then the next day, literally next day, COVID happens. Everything shut down. So I was like, okay, I guess this is it. It's nothing I can control, but because at the time we weren't even sure how life is gonna come back normally or not. Not even thinking about the Olympics. Like the Olympics was our least concern. But yeah, I stay there.
So that
I
kind
actually
of
stayed
gave
there
you, in
during
a
COVID.
way, an extra year to, because you had it. So when COVID hit, you didn't have a qualifying time for Tokyo, right?
Nope.
That's what you're saying.
No.
So it gave you an extra year. And obviously there was a time when there wasn't anything happening at all. But I guess when everything restarted, is that it gave you a chance to make it, right?
It did. I mean, COVID helped me make 2021 Olympic Games. I mean, it didn't help me, but like it gave me one more chance. But at the same time, I did not touch the water for like 5, 6 months. We did nothing, other than just like going to the lake, training there. Um, but yeah, I remember going back. Like my coach was so obsessed. He, in his mind, that the Olympics was going to happen on time, and obviously we all knew that was not going to happen. So he made us go to the lakes, anywhere there's water. He would just send us do something every day, just do something. And I was not convinced with what I was doing. I was just like, okay, I'll just keep going through the motions, see what happens. And then when we started training properly in August, I was actually training really well. So then I was like, okay, maybe give it one more chance. So I think it was sometime November. I go there, I swim there. After, I don't know, a year, I go best times in 4 years or something. And I
Wow.
go best times in distance. Like that was, I wasn't really a distance swimmer at the time, but it's when I started like focusing more on distance. And yeah, I made the Olympics with the A cut in November. And yeah, that was it.
So when you spoke about Rio, you lit up, and you're talking about the crowd. You go to Tokyo, and it's probably completely different experience. And I think a lot of people don't realize, especially in a sport like swimming, but almost any sport,
Mhm.
competing at that level, which is the pinnacle. It's the Olympics, but there's no fans. What was that like? How different was it? How weird was Tokyo?
I remember, I think it was my 800 or something, and someone yells my name, and then there's echo. Like that's how bad it was. It felt like I was swimming in like some random local meet in Alexandria. It was just it didn't feel the same. It's the Olympics. I mean, Japan was super nice. Tokyo was nice, obviously, but it was not it for me. It was weird. Um, But
did
still, I
that
mean,
affect your results, or you were able to perform? What was it like?
I mean, maybe, maybe it was just it didn't feel right. Also, I don't think I hit my taper right because I remember during that summer I was training really, really well, and the times I went at Tokyo were not they were good, but I was almost going the same times in season week after week at the Tier Pro series. So I think that had a major effect. Plus, I don't think I hit my taper right because remember at the time I was just really
Can you
new in
explain to
distance
people what a
swimming.
taper is? Because
So taper, it's basically just when you start going down in volume and intensity, and it's obviously different for each um, athlete, whether you're a sprinter, distance. Even if both swimmers are distance swimmers, they both like each one tapers in a different way, and same goes for sprinters or anyone.
so you kind of decrease the volume of training in the build up to an event.
Yes, I think I did go down a bit too much because remember it was my first Olympics as a distance swimmer, and it was just my first season as a distance swimmer in general. Um,
So
so
you were
I
more
was
in the
really
before 200, 400, and then you became more 400, 800, 1500, right? That's kind
correct,
of how
more
it is.
of 800, 1500, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, I mean, usually when you're at that level of distance swimming, you don't really need to taper much. Uh, so yeah, I was just like, I guess I was training as a distance swimmer, but I tapered as a mid distance swimmer, if that makes sense. So yeah, it was just a learning experience, and I mean, I still went to the Olympics. I still achieved something for the second time that I always wanted to. So yeah, it was a great experience overall.
I know that I had spoken to a lot of the Egyptian athletes during Tokyo and after, and kind of the reaction from the public to some of the results. Like there was so much expectation. In general, that's kind of how it is in Egypt, is that when the Olympics come around, they just want you to win medals without knowing much about you or anything. And because social media obviously is now like I would assume that even by 2021 the kind of the cyber bullying is probably a lot more than how it even was in 2016, because keeps getting worse. And I'm
Yeah,
wondering,
yeah, yeah, 100%.
did you experience that? Were you subjected to that?
You know, like in Rio, I was better at ignoring those things, but like when you in 2021 it was different because it felt like we were targeted, or like it's like someone told them to like focus just on us and just say the worst things that was possibly could be said, you know. And I don't know, it's sad. Like everyone who's like bored can just name an Instagram name or like a Twitter page that I don't know says Egypt sports or whatever. And then the way they write the like their articles is so like it's so biased because like if you let's say you train or you swim for like the biggest swim club in Egypt, they will never ever like say something bad. If
Because there's a
you
loyalty towards the club. You're an Ahli fan or
yeah,
Zamalek
yeah,
fan, you're not gonna
exactly,
diss
exactly.
the athlete from there.
Let's say I me myself I compete. I have like the highest finish at World Champs for Egypt or at the Olympics. They will say I failed to make finals. If someone else who swims for let's say whatever like a big club, um, they'll either say he achieved the 40th place with a new Egyptian record, you know, or they just ignore it like he never went to that meet.
Mm.
So it's not fair. It's something I actually never spoke. Like I always wanted to like say something about, but I just never had the chance to. But you know, it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, I mean, people also don't know like how much swimming. It's like how much it takes for me to like qualify with the A standard. Like I said, with the funding you're provided with too. I mean, I'm not here to like criticize the funding or anything, but I'm just saying it's an individual sport. There's not that much money into it, and you're 80% or 90% on what everything you're doing. It's on your own. And then when you, yeah, it's just when you after all that and you achieve all that, you get that kind of response from the public. And I mean, and in my opinion, I don't think the public is or like those people are the reason. It's just the way the person that decided to make those kind of articles on social media or the way they write things. It's just they know how to make it to like get more views or clicks or whatever, and make people like comment saying, "Oh, we shouldn't have went," or whatever they're saying. Um, so yeah, it's very sad.
I'm curious, do you work with a sports psychologist at all, or did you ever be like get to a point where there are certain things I need to deal with, and I need help in that way, or even just for performance reasons? Can you talk a bit about that?
I only did. It was only like literally, I think three times. It was when I was. It was right before COVID when I was in. When I had like I don't know two more chances to qualify for Tokyo, and she did help me a lot. I think at the time it was more of a life coach. But then COVID happens, and then I stopped doing that. Maybe it's a good idea to go back or do something similar, but it wasn't. I can't say it was something that took a big or a major play in my like swimming career so far.
Okay. So you have qualified for a third time, 800 and 1500, right? Both
Correct.
races you've qualified.
Correct.
And actually, you qualified as soon as the window opened to qualify. Like
First
it
day.
started in March, and then, like, literally, I was just about to start paying attention. And okay, the Olympic qualification window has started, and boom, you qualify, which is amazing. Did you surprise yourself? How much of a relief is it that it's a completely different scenario to Tokyo? It's like well in advance, you're sorted.
Yeah. So this is inshallah going to be my third Olympics, and I know how stressful it is to like postpone the qualifying until the last minute. Even if you're like as an athlete, you can be capable of doing those times, but the stress with the time makes it so much worse. And I told myself I'm not gonna get myself into this again. In Rio also, if you remember, in Rio, it was something similar. It wasn't like at the very first day like we did it now, but it was like at the very very beginning of the
Mm.
qualifying window. So yeah, I mean, but again, I wasn't. It wasn't like I wasn't going to get those times. I was just going to because I was training really well, and I knew I was capable of doing something like good, maybe swim best times or something. Because right before I swam short course in Australia at World Champs, and I was seventh, I think,
Mhm.
and I swam. I think I was in the top 20 best performance ever in the 800. And my time was one of I think it was top 16 best performance ever in that event. So I knew I was in a very good shape. I knew I was capable of swimming best times, whether it's long course or short course. Yeah, and I think the meet was in January, February. I can't remember exactly. In Florida when we first qualified.
The Fort Lauderdale. I think it was beginning of
Yeah,
March.
March.
No.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
even remember, but
I think so. Like in
um,
the just for timeline reasons, because this is important, because you're doing that was a period where you kept just doing really, really well. Is that even in the World Cup series, you got a gold? You won your first ever gold in a World Cup, right? Like in Berlin, that was before going to the World Short Course
yeah,
Championships in Melbourne. So that was
and
towards
at
the
the
end of
time.
2022.
Mhm.
What did that mean for you? First of all, to get that, and I know like World Cups are different and everything, but it must mean a lot to you to be able to get that.
Well, for us as Egyptians, we've never had an Egyptian win gold at the World Cups before. Whether, I mean, even like whether if that's like I mean, obviously you can't compare the World Cup with World Champs. It's two different events, totally two different events. But you
They're
just
like
like
a
having an
series, right? Like it's another way
exactly.
to race, and they're short course usually, right? Are they all short course or some
It's
and
if it's
some?
Olympic year, it's long course. If it's just like a
Mm.
normal year, it's short course.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you want to like put the events in order, obviously the Olympics is number one, World Champs, and then everything else, whether it's Mediterranean Games, African Games, World Cups, they're all, tier pro tier series. They're all in the same level of competition, I
Mm.
would say. Um, so yeah, we've never had an Egyptian win a World Cup before, so it was big for us, big for me, obviously. Um,
But then you go to the
so
World
yeah, I mean,
Championship in Melbourne, you get seventh, and you're right, your time was like top 20 of all time in the
yeah,
800 free.
and I was only like less than 2 seconds from third. It was good, and also for anyone who's new to this and swimming, in the 800, there was in that specific World Champs there was no prelims and finals. So, and my time was not the time that I was entered with was not fast enough for me to swim straight to finals. So I swam this time in the morning, not in the evening. I mean, and obviously, if it's better and you swim so much faster if you swim in the finals. I
Because
wish I
everyone
had the
around you is faster, right?
exactly.
That's
I
why, yeah.
swam in prelims. I had no one next to me. I was just, especially with a distance like 800, you need someone to be next to you to like help you with the pace and all that. At least for me. So yeah, I mean, I wish I had the opportunity to swim the finals, but I still did really good. I swam a really good time in prelims, which was good enough to be seventh overall.
So you this year or 2023, you qualify for the Olympics early, and then you go to World Champs in Japan,
Yeah,
and you get 10th, if I'm not mistaken, in the 800, and you broke Ahmed Akram's national record. So can you talk a little bit about? You also came ninth, I think, in the 1500, right? I did my
yeah. I
homework.
mean,
You were
so
waiting for me
yeah,
to point that out.
I'm almost there. I'm almost ninth, and if you look back too, it's I missed both finals by half a second, and half a second in 1500 and 800. That's literally nothing.
That is
So
nothing.
that was a bit disappointing, but um,
But you're still swimming best times, no?
exactly at yeah, I'm swimming best times. I'm swimming also like distance swimming now is so competitive. I don't know, like if someone really know has been following swimming, like distance swimming now is like at like like its peak. If you like if someone's been following it now, like you get to see world records being broken every I don't know 3 4 months, and like the field is so stacked. Like literally, like I don't know, Olympic champions didn't make finals in the 1500 at the last World Champs because it's so tight. Like there's no room for mistakes, even in prelims. If because if you mess up, you're done. Um, it's
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to say it's like a 50 now because like in the 50 you can't like mess around in the morning because if you do, then you're out. Now it's becoming more and more a thing now in distance swimming because if you don't, if you're not on your A game in the prelims, you're out. It doesn't matter who you are, you
Yeah.
know. And yeah, again, once you make finals, I think everything is possible.
So what do you think? I don't know. How do you look at it from a psychological perspective? The whole like finishing ninth, finishing 10th, just for you personally, what do you think is the difference? Like, is it that big of a difference? Or in your mind, how do you view it? And how much confidence do you have that you will hopefully in Paris be able to be part of those top eight?
I know I'm there. Like I know I'm there, and I know I'm good enough to be in that final. It's just I have to learn from my mistakes and know what I need to do to be just this much better in the prelims. That's all I need because I know in finals when times come, I'll be ready to go.
So you're 30 now, and you're swimming best times, which I don't think that's not something easy. In a lot of sports in general, the age is going up and everything. But for
Yeah.
you, did you expect to be 30 and still being able to sustain a career in swimming and actually swim your best times?
If I go back in time, I would say no. But now, if you ask me that question, if I didn't expect it, I wouldn't still be swimming. Because I'm in the sport to perform at that specific level, and I like we spoke about the whole thing like in the podcast. Like I've literally invested my whole life in swimming. Um, so yeah, I really believe I can do something special for myself, my country, and my family. And yeah, I'm really excited for Paris.
So when you look back, we just literally did a summary of all the travel and all these different, like you've lived in 6 7 different countries and traveled all over the world, and like you said, living out of a suitcase and everything. When you look back at all these, do you see them as sacrifices, first of all, and second of all, do you feel it's been worth it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if it's like you're not gonna achieve something special if you're not willing to risk something or sacrifice something. And it's not for everyone. Like not everyone wants to sacrifice them this much to achieve that much. But for me, it's worth it. Of course, it's something I always wanted to do since I was young. And also, like if you think about it, outside swimming, I also learned so much from the sport, not just in my swimming itself. And for later on in my career, like I said, I invested so much time and effort to be surrounded by the best in the sport and to learn from them. And the plan is after I'm done, I'll be able to teach the next generations of Egyptians and what swimming is really about and how to achieve those things in Egypt without even having to travel. Because like the amount of resources we have in Egypt, it's insane. Like if I tell someone here how many swimming pools or we have, they just don't believe me. You know,
So
I really think we were capable of achieving so much more in like in Egyptian swimming. With the talent we have, we really need to like rethink about the ways we do and just teach them the proper way and just the whole mentality thing. Like in Egypt, it needs to be I don't know how to say it, like
reworked.
redone or yeah, remake or whatever.
But like, can
Uh,
you give me an example of, because you said you've learned the sport has taught you a lot for even away from swimming. What do you think are some of like the biggest lessons that you took to heart from your journey so far?
well, maybe I don't know. Not everything goes the way you want it in life. I guess that would be a very simple lesson. Because when you were young, 2018, 21, 22, things are going almost your way. You just, every time you're going best times. I know it's like it's a very simple example, but like, yeah, just everything's going your way. You don't need to think too much about outside swimming. But the older you get, you have more responsibilities, and also obviously things don't go your way all the time. So you have to figure out a way to like um, overcome those things. You know.
Mhm. You said that distance swimming right now is faster than it's ever been and it's so competitive. Obviously, Tunisian Ahmed Hafnawi has done some crazy things since Tokyo till now and Worlds this year as well. So, Tokyo, he wins the 400 free from lane 8. It's the third time in the history of the entire Olympics that a swimmer has won a race from lane 8. Um, you have been training with him for almost over a year. I would say probably from end of 2022 or something, or like fall of
Yeah,
2022.
yeah, it's almost 2 years now. Yeah.
So can you tell me, he's 21, you're 30. What's it been like having him around? And what has it done for your swimming?
He just sometimes, or most of the time, he just makes me feel younger. Because whether it's in the swimming pool or outside, just the way, like you said, I'm 30, he's 21. There's a big gap, but he's like my younger brother. I really enjoy training with him, and like I said, he makes me feel younger. Like just the way we train, the times we're going. I do things that I've never done in my life before, and it helps him and myself at the same time.
Are you the
We
only
just,
two Arabs training together? Are there other Arabs with you in the group?
Well, actually, my brother is a coach here too, so we're three, I guess.
When Ahmed did what he did, because you swam that event, I think you were 14th in the 400 free in Tokyo, and you saw what he did. What was your reaction? I'm curious.
It's insane. It's insane, and like I said, it shows how everything is possible once you get to that final. Because if you go throughout the history of swimming, and especially at the Olympics, there is no like you can never say this guy's gonna win it. At the Olympics, the pressure is so high. Even the times, if you notice, are a bit slower because it's more about winning, not just going best times. So yeah, once you get that final, everything is possible. And I mean, Ahmed showed the whole world that everything is possible once you get to that final. And yeah, in prelims, like I think the difference between 16th and 8th was like not even a second. So you just, like I said, you have to be on your A game in the morning to make finals because no one is safe.
Yeah. So I would. There's a question that I ask most of my guests on the podcast. What would make Paris 2024 a successful Olympics in your eyes for you? What is the standard that you're putting for yourself, or just anything, even if it's not a time, but just what would make you walk away from Paris feeling that it was a success for you?
Well, first of all, we've never had an Egyptian qualify to 3 Olympics with the A cut. So that's already for me a success. But obviously, I'm not there just to represent my country because we're there, like I said, we're qualifying with the 8 times. We're not just there to swim and leave. We obviously are competing. And if you think about it, we've never had an Egyptian in an Olympic final ever in history. So we'll see how it goes. I'm doing everything possible to represent Egypt in the best way possible. And like I said, I'm really excited and I really enjoy the group I'm training with. So yeah, I'll do everything possible for me to be in that final and we'll see how it goes.
Well, good luck and thank you so much. It took a lot of your time, but I loved our conversation, and
thank you
I
so
hope
much.
I hope that people try and understand, just for swimmers, and obviously all sports are hard, and being an elite athlete is hard. But when it comes to seconds and milliseconds and the amount of training and the taper, like you said, it has to go right and everything. I think it's quite a complex process, and you're now managed to go to a 3rd Olympics, inshallah, in this next summer. So I'm looking forward to see how you go.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much for having me.
Marwan has been knocking on the door of that elusive final for many years. Will he finally make it? Keep an eye out for him this summer in Paris to find out. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for a brand new episode of Abtal next week.